Brett Veach has made one thing clear during his tenure as Kansas City's GM. When it's time to move up, he doesn't hesitate. Since taking over, Veach has never traded down during the draft. Not once. And with the 2025 NFL draft kicking off tomorrow, don't be surprised if the Chiefs climb the board once again. One of the most logical trade partners, the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota enters the draft with only 4 total picks. After moving up last year for J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner, they're now light on capital and picking at number 24. Then not again until 97. The Chiefs, meanwhile, have 8 total picks and the ammo to make a jump from number 31. Swapping with Minnesota makes perfect sense for both sides. Beyond the numbers, the urgency is real. Teams like Houston, Baltimore, and Buffalo, all AFC contenders, sit right in front of KC and may share similar targets. Leaping them protects the Chiefs' board and gives Veach control in a volatile section of the draft. And let's not forget the history. Veach already moved up with Buffalo last year to draft Xavier Worthy, and in 2022 jumped the Bills again to grab Trent McDuffie. That move stung Buffalo. They had Elam on deck and passed on McDuffie. Kansas City isn't afraid to outmaneuver rivals when it matters most. Positionally, a trade-up could revolve around 2 key groups, offensive tackle and defensive line. If tackles start flying off the board, especially with Houston and Washington lurking, Veach might want to strike before the run hits. And with both DE and DT needs in play, sliding into the early 20s could secure a premium defensive piece. Before the pool thins. Bottom line, don't count on the Chiefs sitting still at 31. This is a front office that values aggression, especially when building around Mahomes. And tomorrow night, we might see them pull the trigger again. This time with Minnesota on the other end of the line. With the 2025 NFL draft just hours away, 32 franchises have their boards set and strategies locked in. For the Kansas City Chiefs, all signs point toward one central mission, solidifying the offensive line and more specifically, finding their long-term solution at left tackle. Over the last few weeks, multiple top offensive tackle prospects have been tied to Kansas City, including Ariante Ursary and Josh Connery Jr. But the name that continues to surface more than any other? Josh Simmons, the athletic and raw prospect out of Ohio State. According to Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer, Simmons may be the perfect high-ceiling gamble for Kansas City. Most folks expect the Chiefs to go in on fixing their offensive line with a couple of the 4 picks they have inside the top 100. Breer wrote, they'd be well positioned to take a risk on Simmons, who likely won't be cleared to practice until after camp starts and has maturity questions, but would benefit in a big way from going to a program like Kansas City's. That's a heavy endorsement, and one that lines up with how Brett Veach operates. The Chiefs took a similar bet last year with Kingsley Suamataia, selecting him in the second round despite developmental concerns. Simmons, however, is widely viewed as having the highest upside of any left tackle in this class. Scouts are enamored with his athletic profile, his size, and movement, the traits of a future All-Pro if he lands in the right system. That system could be Andy Reid's, where structure, coaching, and patience turn prospects into pillars. Let's be honest, the left tackle spot has been a revolving door since Orlando Brown Jr. left. The Chiefs tried multiple solutions, even experimenting with Joe Thuney at tackle. But with Thuney now gone and Jaylon Moore arriving from San Francisco on a 2-year deal, it's clear Kansas City wants answers, not experiments. And with 4 picks inside the top 100, including number 31 overall, the Chiefs are in position to strike. Simmons may not be ready week 1, but the Chiefs don't need him to be. With Moore as a temporary bridge, Kansas City can afford to let Simmons develop, learn the system, and eventually grow into the blindside protector Patrick Mahomes has needed for years. Of course, offensive line isn't the only concern. Tershawn Wharton and Justin Reed both departed in free agency, leaving holes on the defensive line and in the secondary. Kansas City will need to use day 2 and day 3 picks wisely to replenish those units, especially with Steve Spagnuolo's defense evolving. But at the top of the board, the message should be clear. Protect Mahomes, protect the dynasty. And if Josh Simmons is available at 31, don't overthink it. Swing big. Build a wall. The Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver room may look familiar heading into 2025, but the tone feels completely different. more focused, more unified, and fueled by a bitter end to last season after falling short to the Philadelphia Eagles. In the Super Bowl, the entire franchise is hungry to run it back, and Patrick Mahomes is leading that charge. Speaking to the media on Wednesday, Mahomes didn't hide his excitement. From his physical transformation this offseason to early throwing sessions with his receivers, the quarterback has been on a mission, one rooted in chemistry, accountability, and championship standards. Getting the guys back healthy is far. As Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown fully healthy, Xavier Worthy in year 2, I think the offense has a chance to be really, really good, Mahomes said. We've had a lot of turnovers in the receiving room, and it seems like the core group will be back in its entirety. And that continuity is key. In 2024, Mahomes worked with a rotating cast. Rashee Rice was sidelined for most of the season. Hollywood Brown's promising debut was cut short by a preseason injury. Xavier Worthy, while flashing promise, was still learning the pro game. Now, all three are healthy, and Mahomes believes that will make all the difference. Rice's return is especially meaningful. The second-year receiver was projected to be Kansas City's WR1 before injury derailed his momentum. Mahomes is confident. He'll pick up right where he left off. Expectations are high. He looks really good. He's running routes, catching the football. He's been able to do everything here so far, Mahomes noted. Then there's Brown, the veteran speedster, who quickly earned Mahomes' respect in camp. Despite suffering a freak injury on the first play of the preseason, Brown returned late in the year and immediately provided value. He was in the building early, was in the building late, teaching other guys. For him to get injured the way he did, it stung, Mahomes said. But now with a full offseason and camp ahead, his role will expand even more. Mahomes is right. With Rice, Brown, and Worthy healthy and developing together, this offense doesn't need to add stars. It needs reps, rhythm, and trust. And they're building that now. The 2025 Chiefs offense may not be reinvented, but with Mahomes dialed in and his core receivers returning healthy, it's poised to be more dangerous, more explosive, and more prepared than ever. And the rest of the league, they've been warned. The Kansas City Chiefs enter the 2025 NFL Draft in a rare position, not desperate to fill holes, but free to chase upside, versatility, and long-term value. Thanks to a focused offseason by GM Brett Veach, Kansas City heads into Thursday night with a balanced, complete roster and 4 picks inside the top 100. That's the kind of setup that allows a Super Bowl contender to swing for the fences as pick number 31. This year's draft class is loaded with names that could slide into KC's lap. And if they do, Veach has the flexibility to take a shot on elite talent, even if it doesn't fill the most obvious need. One of the biggest wildcards is Josh Simmons. Viewed by some scouts as a potential top 10 talent before a knee injury, Simmons may need a redshirt year, but the Chiefs can afford to wait. With Jalon Moore as a bridge and Kingsley Suamataia developing, KC could grab a future franchise tackle with elite upside. Another position that could shock fans? Running back. Both Omarion Hampton and Treveyon Henderson would walk into training camp as the most gifted backs on the roster. If the Chiefs want to take pressure off Patrick Mahomes and avoid long-term RB issues after 2025, either player could be a home run pick. At wide receiver, Luther Burden III is a name to watch. Once considered a top 20 lock, questions about his route tree may push him down. And if he's available, Kansas City might ignore positional overlap and bet on pure talent. The same could apply to Emeka Egbuka or Matthew Golden if they slip. Then, there's the defensive front, where names like Michael Williams, Shemar Stewart, Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, and Kenneth Grant could all bring explosive power alongside Chris Jones. It's the kind of depth Steve Spagnuolo craves. Long, disruptive linemen who can anchor KC's identity. Even the secondary has intrigue. If Malachi Starks falls, he could be a chess piece at safety slot. Trey Amos offers Spags ideal traits for an outside corner, and Kevin Winston Jr. has first-round tools if medicals check out, and don't sleep on tight end. With Travis Kelce aging, Mason Taylor could quietly be a future star at the position. This roster is built to win now, and that allows the Chiefs to draft for dominance later. Expect fireworks at 31. Kansas City is swinging big.